Hey, what's going on, Average Joes? Summer is here, so it's time for my spring wrap up. My wife and I really did enjoy the bar and bookcase tag video. She enjoyed making it, other people enjoyed watching it. It was by far my most popular video, even though it just came out. So we're going to keep making more of them. We've already shot another one, so we already have another one coming out soon. If it's not out already, I'm not sure what order I'm going to publish these in. So not only are we going to make some, we have ideas on making new ones. And yeah, we've already brainstorming some other ones that we're going to do and how we're going to do it and how we're going to tie them together. So more to come on those. I might, especially depending on how they get published, it might be end up being twice a month that they're going to come out, and I might put those out on Fridays. So I normally publish on Sundays and Wednesdays, but if these keep coming out, I think those special episodes will be on Fridays and only twice a month. So not every Friday, but every other Friday, maybe ish. We'll see how recording goes, see how plans go in the summer. And we have a lot coming up this summer. So, as you may know, I don't do monthly TBRs or wrap ups. I like to do them more of seasonally or every couple of months, depending on what's going on, what's shifting around. I've done a few on Kindle Unlimited and some other things that have been coming up. I did a reading plans for the summer. So, I want to do a reading wrap up for the spring, but really it's the last 2 months, mostly just April and May. My reading, a little bit of March. It's the lines are fuzzy, but I just wanted to put up some of my reading numbers and what I've done. So I have read. Uh, I didn't. I don't know really where my line is for how much I have read. I don't have like a clear line of what I'm cutting this off for spring, but what I'm going to talk about today, I've read 11. I read 11 books in the last 2 months, 2-ish months, and of those 11 books, I have read 4 of them have been fantasy, 3 of them have been sci-fi, 2 mystery and thrillers, and then 2 nonfiction. And with June coming, I'm going to have another nonfiction that I'm reading, among with other things that I have going on. So I'm not going to talk about every book that I did read because I'm either addressing them in other videos or something. So, for example, Voice of War, I have a review for that has already been out. That is one of the fantasy that I read here, but I'm not going to put up a review or a numbers for it. But I want to highlight some of them that I did read and wanted to talk about. So first, I finished the Ash and Sand trilogy. So I read Kings of Ash and Kings of Heaven. Phenomenal series. It is fantastic. I will be talking about this more in an upcoming video. So slight teaser, spoiler, whatever you want to call it. But I absolutely love this series. It is fantastic. My rating for the series is I'm giving it a 9 for overall enjoyment because I absolutely loved the series and how everything worked out. I love that the world and everything grows the longer that you read, that things that you find out in book 3 were actually happening in book 1, that you thought that was just a whatever throwaway character was actually somebody else later on, and so on. So the world grows, the characters grow, the depth grows, everything grows. It is a fantastic read. So 9 for enjoyment, 8 for pace, and that's the only reason why is because at times there's things that happen really fast, and at other times there's a lot of backstory and other things going on. So I didn't have a problem with it. I think it was fantastic, and some of the fast-paced moments were deliberately done because then they will be explained later on. And then recommendation 9, definitely 100% recommend this series. You should totally check this out, especially if you're like more of the grimdark side. It is on the grimdark side, but I'm going to give this one a 26 out of 30 total for my review score. The next book I'm going to talk about, I'm finally gotten back to reading the multiverse and Stephen King books. I took a long break, not deliberately on purpose, but the ones that I had coming up that I've mentioned before are super big. But I decided to pick up The Mist because it is very short, and I just wanted something short to knock out before I head back to Count of Monte Cristo. So I read The Mist, and enjoyment on this one, my ratings for this is enjoyment 6, balance of 7, recommend I gave it 8 for a total score of 21 out of 30. Now, kind of explain my rating on this one is I really did enjoy it. I did like a lot about it. It is a very cool concept, and I kind of like the apocalypse doomsday type feel of it. But the thing that I didn't enjoy was the ending, and I'm not a fan of open endings, of ambiguous endings to where you just kind of have to you think of it yourself, or you figure it out yourself, or make up your own, whatever it is. Not really a fan of that. Kind of the same thing with The Long Walk. Very open ended, very ambiguous, and it just gives a bad taste in my mouth for the ending of a book to me. However, some people like that and it doesn't bother them. That's why I still gave it an 8 for recommend. It's also super short, super easy read. So it was good and immersive and fun to read during, but it was just the ending that made me the enjoyment kind of sully it a little bit. So you can make that up for what you want, but I kind of like things wrapped up a little bit better than they were. Um, so yeah, I still definitely recommend it. It's a good read, and apparently a lot of people like the movie even better than the book. I haven't watched the movie. I know the ending of the movie just because I didn't see myself ever watching it, and it's been out forever. But maybe one day we'll check that out. Next, I'm going to talk about my first, or the only nonfiction that I'm going to talk about. Even though I said I read two, the only one I'm going to highlight for this one is Why We Get Sick. And Why We Get Sick, enjoyment, I gave a 7. For balance, I gave a 7. And recommend, I gave an 8. Now, this one, I love nutrition books, or books that can make you healthier and learn more about nutrition and eating better. And this one takes another awesome approach that is very digestible, and everybody can learn and take away a lot, and there are easy, awesome applications with it. My website that I work for, we did a full book review on it, a discussion with the other coaches, so you guys can check that out as well. I'll try and link it below. But it is a fantastic book, especially for getting into nutrition and health, and figuring out why you might have certain health issues, or weight loss issues, or anything like that. Next, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I'm continuing with the Agatha Christie reading. This is my first Hercule Poirot book, and we have started collecting them. I think we own like 9 or so now, but this is the first one that I read because my wife read it, and because this is the first one that has like a big twist for a Poirot book, and she really wanted me to read it so that we could talk about it. And now I've read it, and yeah, the twist is big at the end. Again, I wasn't quite a fan of it. I can't say anything more than that because it would just be spoilers. So if you have read it and want to talk about it, then shoot a comment and we'll talk about it in one of your comment threads. But it was still fantastic. I still love that sort of murder mystery, going through all the suspects, learning new info. We're going to go back to the beginning of the Poirot books and start from the first. But the ending on this one, I could see why people really like it. My wife really liked it, and why it got so much traction, because it is a pretty good twist. But I still have my own issues with it, and I'd be happy to share them with anyone that is curious. So for this, enjoyment 7. Again, that's the enjoyment of factoring in the ending, because it kind of lowered it a little bit. But I did really enjoy most of the book, going through and figuring things out. It was a super easy, quick weekend read. Balance was 8. It was balanced. It was a murder mystery, so you're going through in every chapter, you're learning something new. And recommend 8. Totally recommend. Absolutely check out Poirot books. I mean, I could probably bump that up to a 9 because it's Poirot books, and because I'm more interested to see what other people's thoughts are on the endings and the hook. Next one, I'm going to talk about Night Trade. This is book 2 in the Olivia Loan series. I remember I talked about the first one, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It was the first one was very adult and more graphic. This second one is not nearly as dark or as graphic, but it continues with the same sort of themes and mystery. This time, Olivia ends up teaming up with somebody else, and they go and take down more people in Thailand. Not really going to say much more, but I definitely enjoyed it. It's a good continuation on the series. It's another one that the audiobook is included with Kindle Unlimited. So that's another really awesome bonus to those. So you can either read it or listen to it through Kindle Unlimited. And I believe the third one is included as well. So enjoyment 6, balance 7, recommend 7 for a total of 20 out of 30. The enjoyment was a little bit lower just because it wasn't quite as good as the first. There wasn't as much of a mystery. It was more of just like a action sequences. They did figure things out. There was a little bit of one, but it was just a little bit of a step down, but still decent overall. Last but not least, the Red Rising trilogy. I finished this one out. So I read Golden Sun and Morning Star in, what was it, April and then May. So in those, I absolutely love Red Rising trilogy. It is fantastic. It is definitely making my top series video, and I can't wait to get to the next ones. However, I'm taking a break now from Morning Star to Iron Gold because book 6 there's no a published date in sight for that one, so I'm okay breaking to doing an evening break now and picking them up later whenever there's a published date for the last one. I loved the story. Every time you thought you knew what was going to happen, something else happens, and then again and again that kept on happening. You feel definitely some deep emotions for a lot of the side characters, not necessarily Darrow. I mean, you feel some stuff for Darrow, but the side character are really what make it. I mentioned that in the recent bar and bookcase tag with that I shot with my wife. So Red Rising is phenomenal. So I'm giving the entire trilogy a rating, and enjoyment 9 for sure, balance 8, recommend 9 for a total of 26 out of 30. It is very high up there on my list and my reading overall. It's fantastic. I mean, there's not much else to say about that. It's got fantasy elements, sci-fi elements, all kinds of stuff. So that was a brief spring wrap up. I know I didn't go over everything that I have read, but I just wanted to get some out there. I wanted to keep utilizing my rating system for all of the books that I read. This is actually how I initially ordered my top 10 series of all time video. And I want to keep on using it for all the other books that I read, even though if I'm not going to do dedicated book reviews to everything, I'm probably going to save book reviews for just self-published books or series. I'll have more of those coming out as I read them, especially if they're on Kindle Unlimited, because I want to get those out more than some of the bigger name ones. But that's what's going on now. Other things to come. But let me know what your spring wrap up, your spring reading was, what you read, what you really liked, maybe your favorite spring book, maybe a disappointing spring book, whatever it was. And if you read any of the ones that I have on mine, and we will chat more in the comments.